See, now this is why I love you guys. I mentioned on Twitter a while ago that 2018 hadn't really put out any really good music lately, and you guys responded with some really fantastic releases from this year. And that's what we're going to be looking at right now, so let's dive in. Time Will Die and Love Will Bury It by Rolo Tomassi. So Rolo Tomassi is a English band. They are definitely a tech metal band or a extreme metal band. I would qualify these guys as a brutal progressive metal band. Originally, I wouldn't actually put them into that category because this was the first album I heard from them. They have a couple of other releases that they've put out, but this was the first one I came to, and I came with a complete blank slate. The first two tracks made me believe that these guys were more of like a Sigur Rós or a Mogwai, like some kind of a post-rock, very ambient sounds, very like emphasis on atmosphere kind of a band, and I was really digging the grooves. I love the first two tracks of From Towards Dawn and Aftermath. Like that good, like 7 to 8 minute stretch of music is just brilliant. I love the build-ups. I love the flourishes. I love like how they were able to just build upon itself. And when we come into Rituals, the song starts to take on a little bit more of a sinister sense. And this is when I got into Rolo Tomassi because, oh man, they just hit it hard at that point. I was not, again, coming completely blind and not knowing what to expect. Coming into Rituals where that lead singer of Eve Spence, again, I thought at the beginning we were getting something more of like a Sigur Rós or something of like Anathema within the female presentation. But instead of it being kind of like an add-on, she was the forefront, and I was like, yeah, hey, I am all for this. But then when we got into Rituals and she comes through with that like screaming vocals and the growling and the gutturalness, and I'm like, all right, here we go. Like, how were they able to like switch on a dime like that? I was so surprised and so blown away. And just where Ritual goes, and again, it doesn't like really start off like it builds a little bit like with those drumming, that I'm like, okay, and then when we get into that meat, that oomph, and she really screams it out, I'm like, okay, and like right from the get-go, like that track that really hits us within that tech metal, it felt like what Between the Buried and Me have been trying to do since the Parallax, but they haven't really been able to capture. Like, these guys were able not only to capture it, but then just to blow forth with it. And their ability to build up a song, like the fourth track of The Hollow Hour, where it takes its time to really build, and we don't really get into the song until like the minute and a half mark, because they've spent so much time laying that foundation down that by the time we get into that like really hard hitting and really like bombastic and chaos of the song, we're ready and we are just milking it in. And the knowledge of when to bring things back and when to bring things forefront, this is what I really, really enjoy about this band. Because a lot of these tech metal bands just bring it up here and leave it up here through the whole time. And at that point, it does become a little bit muddled. It does become a little bit repetitive. And there's not a whole lot of contrast to really help us appreciate those heavier parts. But what these guys do is they're able to blend that. And as I was mentioning within the Hollow Hour, they have a lot of that contrast. They're able to bring it back a little bit, let us have a little bit of a breather, to let us jump back into that pit. They are very brilliant in handling atmosphere. And the one piece that has done this very well is Balancing the Dark. And that is such a great title for a track like this, because they do balance that atmosphere. Like throughout the whole song, there's this uneven tone that goes throughout it, and it pieces together and strings us along, and it's pretty much throughout the entire track, and it keeps us off kilter. It always keeps us on our toes. and it allows for those jazzier movements to really take forward. I keep wanting to compare these guys to kind of the masters of the prog tech, like Between the Buried and Me, but I feel like these guys are doing and capturing what those masters are attempting to do, but are actually able to grab onto it. Now, a track that I can't help but highlight is A Flood of Light, and this almost sounds like, and I know I already kind of mentioned them before, but it sounds very much like a Anathema, but if Anathema went dark. Like, if Anathema went to the tech metal, this is what it would feel like, because it has that ambience, and it has that atmosphere that Anathema is so great at capturing, and it takes that, but then it also has that brutality that those other bands that I had mentioned before do as well, and A Flood of Light has that, and it really shows Eve's ability to master both the dark, heavy, guttural growls with the soft, heavenly vocals, and it does it so perfectly. And the last three tracks really bring us home. Contempt, I think that's Contempt, Risen, and Whispers Among Us. Great way to end it all off. I love the soothing vocals, the presentation of that. Like, it blends so many different things without copying. And I think that's the real test of genius within this work, because instead of just copying a lot of these different styles. Like, they're not just copying Between the Buried and Me. They're not just copying Sigur Rós or Anathema. They're their own thing in such a great blending styles. And Risen, being the last track on this, really brings us home and really kind of packages this bundle up very, very well. So overall, I was blown away by this particular piece. I keep revisiting it. I love the structure of this album as well, because each track flows into the next seamlessly. It feels like one cohesive whole, and I love when a band does that. There's no track that I want to skip. I know that I'm going to be visiting this album quite a bit throughout this year, and it's easily one of my favorite pieces from this year overall. I have to say, I love this album with my whole heart. I know from here, I'll dive back into their old discographies and find out kind of where they have come from here. So, that's about it from this particular piece from Rolo. Time will die and love will bury it. What did you guys think of this? If you're a fan of the band, how does it stack up with their past works? Let me know of that, as well as your own thoughts about this album by commenting down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, you guys are definitely the best. And until next time, notes out.